August 1999. Chapter 1. It's so lovely, this house. 3 stories, newly renovated, off-white paint on the walls, and the best furniture she could find. Clean lines, clean surfaces, stainless steel in the kitchen, and expensive tiles in the bathrooms. The most expensive architect in Sydney, because that's what her husband wanted for the house that he has worked so hard to afford, and which he wants to show off to his friends and acquaintances and associates, which makes it a showroom more than a house, and that makes her his showroom model, perhaps. Joan walks to the glass doors that open onto a wide balcony. The balcony furniture is also new. Isaac was so determined that everything would be new that she once asked him why he didn't just pull the whole house down and start again. Because it has history, he said, which made her laugh, because if he liked the history so much, he should have kept it the way it was. A little musty, a lot old-fashioned. The history of this house is that Isaac coveted it for years. They once came to a party here when he was a junior partner at a large law firm, and ever since then he's wanted to own it. Owning it means something to him. Joan was happy to support him, of course, and she knows what he's like when he covets something, because he coveted her once too, and worked just as hard to get her. So, now she's here in this house he bought for them both. A house they've barely lived in because the renovations took years and they rented somewhere while they were done. But which is now complete and resplendent, and no doubt they'll be the envy of everyone they know. And all she's interested in is what's outside. Because, as lovely as the house is, it has nothing on the view. From this balcony, she looks over Sirius Cove and across to Carabiner Point between the cove and Mossman Bay. It's a glorious day with a clear blue sky, the way Sydney can be in winter. The light softens and the air is crisp and everything looks sharper. The movement on the water below her tells her there's a light breeze, and the few boats moored there bob a little. To her left, there are the high walls of Taronga Zoo, and if she moves her head, she is looking at the city. The Opera House, the Harbour Bridge, the office towers, the Botanic Gardens, Camp Cove, Campbell's Cove, the rocks. She can see it all. Between the house and Sirius Cove, there is a small strip of bushland. A stone staircase nearby leads down to a track that takes her through the bush and, in one direction, to Kirrily Camp. The camp was inhabited by Arthur Streeton and Tom Roberts and other artists in the late 19th century. They strung up shelters next to the water and painted what they saw in this place that is now her home. Streeton depicted the water she is looking at now, trees and rocks she can't see from this spot. They lived rough and painted elegantly. It's a romantic story, even as it contains the elements of what art means to her. Commitment, the sacrifice of earthly comforts, the pursuit of beauty and excellence, and the feeling of something being just right, in you, in the world. It isn't electric so much as magic, and there is no room for magic in a culture like Australia's, hewn out of military history and colonial obedience and, in the name of both, conquering wilderness. Conquering wildness. And wildness is an essential component of magic. Actually, That is what art used to mean to her. She hasn't painted for a long time now. She used to be good at it too. Sold works, won prizes, as modest as they were. Her talent was evident from primary school, or so her mother always said. Joan was only aware of it in high school, when she was lucky to have an encouraging art teacher, Miss Sharam, who taught her about acrylics and oils and watercolours, about Impressionism and Classicism and the Renaissance. Miss Sharam rhapsodised about Vincent van Gogh and Artemisia Gentileschi, thought Picasso entirely too brutal, and Renoir overrated. Joan chose oils as her main medium because Miss Sharam offered her space to leave her canvases to dry in a part of her classroom behind a screen. It wasn't long before Joan was arriving early to school and staying late. She wasn't interested in chasing boys or being chased. She just wanted to paint. Miss Sharam encouraged her to enter competitions and, emboldened by successes in them, Joan kept painting. Then Miss Sharam became Mrs. French and stopped teaching. By then, however, Joan was in full flight, and she stayed that way for quite a while. After she married Isaac, she thought she'd find magic in their marriage too, then in motherhood. Both of those roles, as it turned out, had more to do with militarism, colonialism, and conquering wildness. So they felt familiar, but they weren't what she wanted. She knows that now. The phone rings, deep in the sitting room behind her, and she walks swiftly towards it before it rings out. Hello? Darling. It's what Isaac always calls her. Sometimes she thinks he's forgotten her name, even as she feels mean thinking it. She knows women who wish their husbands would use such endearments. Hi. Having a good day? He sounds distracted, as he always does when he's at work. Secretaries coming and going, appointments to keep, briefs to study. The law. His great love, she joked once. But really it's the lifestyle the law affords him that he loves. Sure, she says, because he's not interested. Her job is to make his home run smoothly and keep his social connections humming, keep up with their children, both grown, both in their own homes, and their daughter with her own baby, and inform him of their comings and goings. She is chatelaine and confidante and companion, and what she wants almost more than anything in the world is for someone to be that for her. The thing she wants most in the world is to pick up a paintbrush again. But there's no space for that in this life she's allowed to be built around her. That's unfair. She has let it happen, in that she hasn't resisted it. She lives in a house with art on the walls, and none of it's hers. She has a life in which everyone tells her what they want, and she makes it happen for them, but she does not, ever, open her mouth and say what she wants. Because she's not meant to want anything, is she? Other than the happiness of her nearest and dearest. Except she does. Oh, she wants things. She wants that hum in her veins that used to happen when a painting flowed out of her. She wants the stillness she would feel in the air around her when she was sitting in nature, looking at nature, trying to capture nature on a canvas in front of her. That feeling was like a drug, and she was gleefully hooked on it. It is almost impossible to understand now why she ever gave it up, no matter how much she rationalizes it to herself, and how she knows that it came only in the wake of the greatest shock of her life, when she was so shaken She didn't trust herself to make anything other than tears. So many years ago now. Too many to let it stop her from painting again. And now she feels guilty that she has this glittering existence in this perfect house, and she doesn't care for it, for any of it, because it seems empty. "Listen, darling," Isaac says, and she snaps back to the present. She says, watching as a car drives along the road on the opposite point. "Late notice. Sorry, really, but I invited some people to dinner." That's got her attention. "Tonight?" "Yes, just 8 of us, nothing big." "8 invited or 8 in total?" The question sounds robotic, because she has become an automaton where these requests are concerned, given how often Isaac makes them of her. She has long since given up asking him to give her fair warning of dinner parties, and stopped being cross about them too. There's just no point. 8 total. Including you, of course, although... He starts laughing. "There will be a lot of work talk, so you may be bored." "I'm sure I will be," she thinks. And she's not sure he doesn't count on it, that she'll be so bored she takes herself off, and they can all sit there and talk about work. "Right," she says. "What time?" 7. She looks at her watch. It's almost midday. She does not have enough food in the house to feed 8 people, which means she has to do a lot of work in a short space of time. "All right," she says. There's no other acceptable response. She knows the drill. Cook and serve and be the hostess he expects her to be. At least the house doesn't need to be cleaned. Isaac is barely here enough to sully it, and she cleans up after herself every day. They could afford help, of course, but part of her feels like she needs to take responsibility for their domestic life, that she's not worth anything unless she is being useful. Or perhaps she just needs to feel useful, and she's telling herself that she's really selfless instead. "You're a treasure, darling. See you later." The call is over. He doesn't tell her what time he'll be home because she knows it will be just before whatever time dinner is. So she's on her own preparing everything. Again. There's so much to do. Standing by the open balcony doors, she feels the breeze. It's cool but tolerable. She closes her eyes and listens to boats clinking, a dog barking, children calling out, a cockatoo squawking. When she opens her eyes, she can't see the sources of the noise, but she knows they inform the scene she is looking at below. The beauty of nature and the traces of humanity that form a portrait she wishes she could paint. That's when she feels it for the first time in decades. The hum. The hairs on her arms stand up, and a shiver runs up her spine. She remembers this, not just in her brain, but in her body. The feeling that she just has to do something, make something. And what she absolutely does not want to make is dinner. Not again. Not ever. She shuts the balcony doors forcefully and turns away from the view, her breath quickening. This house is lovely, and it is a trap. Her husband is decent, but she suspects he does not care for her. Not really. Her children? Well, when she's feeling less than generous, she thinks they only care about the ways in which she can help them, even though she has been so keen to offer that help, over and over. So this is a trap she has probably laid for herself, even as she doesn't want to take responsibility for it. She's not sure she wants to take responsibility for anything ever again. Not for this house, or her husband's dinners, or her friends' disappointments. With one exception. She loves her granddaughter, Natalie, and would gladly take care of her forever. That angel face, that baby smell, the wispy hair on her head, the little scratches on her cheeks from her sharp baby fingernails. She loves it all. She wishes she could preserve it all. Joan smiles as she thinks of her granddaughter's dimples, but stops when she remembers her daughter, Corinne, presuming that she is always available to help. As if Joan has nothing else going on in her life. And that rankles, because, well, it's largely true. Joan let her interests, indeed, the passions of her younger self, slide out of her life once she married and had children. She can't really blame her husband or her children either, because with a bit of effort, she could have kept them up. But it was just all too hard. Or it seemed that way at one time. One time that changed her forever. There was another baby, 25 years ago. She couldn't keep with her. That was the greatest shock of her life. Every day, she hopes she'll get over it. That hope is sometimes, she thinks, the only proof that she's still here when she can tend to feel like she exists in some kind of limbo. Joan shivers and closes her eyes again, willing the hum to abate. When she was young and painting all the time, she would let the hum take her over and lose track of time, and sometimes of place. It was a rapture of sorts. She can't allow a rapture to take place now. There is too much at stake. For one thing, there is the Joan she has become. The only Joan she knows now. Wife, mother, good citizen. That's not the Joan she wants to be, though. She wants the other one back. The one who succumbed to the rapture. Who felt that hum in her veins and let it flow like the drug it was. Who had not known great loss and still believed in magic. That Joan does not know how to poach salmon for 8 and make a pavlova and set the table just so and arrange flowers like a florist. No. She's not going to make dinner tonight. Hurrying upstairs to her bedroom, she pulls out a decent-sized suitcase and chooses some clothes to go into it. Given almost everything in her wardrobe coordinates, this task is fairly simple. She goes to the secret stash of money she keeps in her underwear drawer, the one she has just in case, because her father, who had felt the sting of the Great Depression and World Wars, told her to always have cash on hand in case something happened to the banks. She puts it all in her handbag and picks up the checkbook for the bank account she opened when her grandfather died and left her a tidy inheritance. As Isaac never asked if she had received anything in her grandfather's will, she didn't tell him. And now, she's glad of that. Toiletries, a winter coat, a couple of pairs of shoes, the book she's reading and her reading glasses go into the suitcase. Joan hauls the case downstairs, then picks up her keys. She pulls off the car key and leaves the house keys behind. They're not needed anymore. Out to the driveway of that lovely home with its harbour views and guest bedrooms and swimming pool and a tennis court they never use. Her new model Mercedes is in its usual spot. Suitcase in the back, handbag in the front. Within seconds, she has reversed onto the street, and soon she is driving towards the harbour bridge, heading south for the Hume Highway, letting instinct guide her away from the dinners that will remain uncooked, and the perfect house she won't be able to appreciate, and the phone calls that will be made from that house in search of her. She drives past Goulburn and Yass and places she knew as a child when her parents would put her and her sisters in the back seat and take them away for school holidays. Into Victoria, which, as an adult, she hasn't known well, apart from the occasional trip to Melbourne and its boutiques. Melbourne isn't where she wants to go, though. Too much of a city, not enough of an escape. The Mornington Peninsula is her destination. This part of Victoria has lived in her memories for decades, because it was where her parents would bring her and her sisters. They'd take 2 days to drive here, stopping in Gundagai on the way, and when they arrived at the Duchess Hotel, they would all sigh with relief. It was their haven away from home. So, it is to the Duchess Hotel that Joan has escaped from her adult life, because she has decided that the Joan who lived that life is not the Joan she wants to be for the rest of her years, and there is no better time to start than now. So, she will let this road take her as far as it needs to, so that she can start again.